I'm thrilled to be here again. And what are we here for?
Hi, Claire. Well, this is actually the final episode of this series of the series Proactivity for Neurodivergent Professionals. And today we'll talk about building happy habits and the ongoing challenge of doing what we know we should do, but never seem able to do it actually. And I'm here with you, Claire. And for those of you who don't know, Clare Kumar is an executive coach, speaker, and founder of Happy Space, a podcast, online community, and more. Claire has worked with thousands of professionals to boost productivity and performance through one on one coaching, keynotes, and workshops. She's also been a regular contributor to national media on the topics of organization, productivity, work life integration, and inclusivity. During this whole conversation, we want to hear from you. So get your questions ready and keep that raise your hand button closed. Also, don't forget to follow Claire on Fishbowl. Even though this might be the final episode of this series, this isn't going to be the final episode of Claire Kumar on Fishbowl. So give it a go, Claire.
Thanks, Raphael. It's great to see people joining. Yes, and as Raphael said, we're going to have some definitely information to share with you. But the point of being here is to be in conversation. So I am really looking forward to having you join me. And we've got a couple of ways you can do that. Definitely, you can hit the raise hand button, and Raphael and I will invite you into the conversation. The other way, and what I love so much about Fishbowl and Glassdoor, is that this is a safe space. So if you want to feel anonymous and ask a question, then all you have to do is direct message Raphael. Don't direct message me because I'm terrible at doing more than one thing at once and I might get distracted, and I also might read your name. If you want to stay anonymous, that's not going to be that's not going to be good. So Raphael is here, so you can direct message him and let him know your question and that you'd like to be anonymous, and then Raphael can ask that question. But I'm thrilled to be here. We're talking about something I've noticed over the years working with hundreds and up thousands of people. It's, as a coach, I noticed where people were getting stuck in getting to do the things they want to do. And hang on a second, I got to close my door. I love it. My partner's unloading the dishwasher, but it's all clanky, and I'm like, shush. So I really noticed these sticking points in people adopting habits, and I want to share some of that thinking with you. Hang on, I got to ask him to stop. Hang on a second. Love, please. No, it's too loud. I'm doing a radio thing. Sorry, don't do it now. That's the last thing you want to do is ask someone to stop doing when they're doing something nice for you. But I'm like, no, it's too noisy.
And
Okay.
taking advantage of that little pause, Claire, can you remember to actually share your screen and the
Yeah.
slides?
Yeah, I was just coming to that. So just for those of you who are listening, I love the audio format, but what Raphael and I do is we actually put a whole presentation together, and we are meeting on Zoom right now to record this. So if you're watching later, you can see us. And so I love starting a Zoom out without showing the slides, just to kind of say hello to everybody. And then now I'll be sharing slides, and you're welcome to check out our replay. Of course, you can get it right on Fishbowl Live, the audio, but if you're interested in the slides, clarekumar.com/fishbowl. clarekumar.com/fishbowl, and you will actually see this slide presentation and have access to the 4 previous Productivity for Neurodivergent Professionals slides and content, all free. There's no need to sign up for anything, but there is a link and an invitation to subscribe to my newsletter, which comes out once a month, and you're most welcome to participate there. So I would like to jump into some of the content now and really share some of our thinking here on it. First of all, I'm going to talk about what is a habit and how do we think about habits. I want to talk about some of the challenges that show up, and I want to hear from you on what are some of the challenges. And if you have a habit that you're having, working to have stick, but it's not happening, I want to talk to you. We're going to talk about reframing the idea of habit and ABCs of behavior change, which is this very concise 5 steps and a bonus 6 step to actually think about your habits to really make sure that they stick. So let's move forward now with what is a habit. And we looked up the definition with the Oxford Dictionary. It's a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. And I thought that was really interesting. It's one that's hard to give up. So it's not necessarily connected 100% to good intention. We have bad habits as much as we have good habits, and that's definitely in our vernacular what we think about. I mean, and when we think about habits, what are the challenges that come up with, as Raphael said in the very beginning, it's these things that we know we want to do, but we're just not doing them. And why is that? What's happening with that block in completing something that we know we intend to do? False starts. We actually start along a path of doing something, but then we fall off. That gym membership that you signed up for, and you went a couple of times, and then stopped going. What happens when we get into starting a habit and falling off? And sometimes we're just feeling pulled by others and other people's priorities. And we really have a tough time saying yes to self and no to others. And that can be really, really difficult when we're actually trying to do something that we know is really good for us. So those are some of the challenges. I want to really talk a lot about potentially reframing our language. Okay, so I'm giving you real life here. I just trapped one of my cats in my office, and cats and closed doors, they really do not like closed doors. So now, I've just opened the door. Okay, sorry for the real life distractions. Um, I want to come to the idea of reframing habits, and to say that when I work with clients and we talk about things that they want to do, I talk a lot about, and in my productivity CPR model, the R stands for an up leveling of thinking about habits. And so the question I have for you is, what if we changed our language? I mean, I would love to be able to do a poll now here and get a sense of who in the room likes the idea of a habit, or who is thinking, like, to stick a fork in my eye. I don't need another habit. I don't want to feel like I have to do anything. There's sort of some resistance. And so I've sensed that working with people and suggested that we reframe and uplevel the honor in our language. And I really love to use the word ritual. Now, ritual, the definition of ritual is that it is a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. What I like about the reframing of habits into the word ritual is that there's a sense of reverence and honor, that we're thinking about a sacredness to us. And this kind of feeling can extend and make even the most mundane things that we have to do become opportunities. So, in the slides right now, I'm showing somebody looking a little bit forlorn, looking at a basket of laundry, and folding laundry. I once brought a product to market, and it's in the process of coming back to market. It's a tool to help fold clothes. And in my research for Pleo, if you want to look it up, you can find information at pleo.ca or pleo.com for even more details on it. Pleo is Pliio. And when I was looking for information and getting a pulse on the market around the angst around folding clothes, holy moly, this is one of the least favorite things for people to do. There were pictures of laundry and people sleeping with the laundry, pets in the laundry. There was, I'd rather be doing anything, fill in the blank, than be folding my clothes and putting them away. It was massive. And, part of bringing a product to market to help with the process was looking at how we look at these small things that we have to do in life, and how do we up level the honor that we actually look at them with. It's honor to ourselves, it's honoring others. Whenever we're, taking care of our laundry, for example, and making our clothes look as good as they possibly can, that's taking care of how we show up and we present in the world. How we show up and we present in the world has an impact on how others perceive us, and we can choose to infect that with pride and care, or we can, struggle and want to pull clothes out of the laundry basket and just wear them, and not take care. So I wanted to just present this idea of reframing habits to a ritual, and also to share, in my own life. Not only am I neurodivergent, I have another hidden challenge, which is an autoimmune disease, which has limited my ability to do some of the basic things in my life before. So I have now reframed, not, oh my gosh, I have to go and do this. I have to run up the stairs because I forgot something. I reframe it to think, oh, I'm privileged to be able to do this thing that I would have at once upon a time been annoyed about. So it's really powerful to start thinking of even taxes, even administrative stuff. I mean, I would love to know that thing you're dreading, that you want to do, that you want to make time for. We can have a conversation about how do you reframe that to be something you look forward to. Um, so that's one huge concept. I want to pause here now and just see if any comments or questions have come into Raphael, and to see if there's anyone who wants to talk about just this attitude to habits and mindset around it, and if there's anyone who wants to chat about that.
We still don't have any messages in my DM. And just remember that if you want to ask an anonymous question, you can always DM me, and I'll read it out loud to Claire so she can actually answer it. And taking this little break, I'm going to remind you that we are in Productivity for Neurodivergent Professionals with Clare Kumar, experienced executive coach specializing in productivity and inclusivity. Today, we're talking about building happy habits and the ongoing challenge of doing what we know we should do but never seem to be able to. Make sure to follow her on Fishbowl so you don't miss any talks in the series.
Thank you, Raphael. I suppose one of the things that I want to do as well is connect this to neurodivergency. And as someone with autism, ADHD combined, ADHD and challenges in focusing and time blindness, all of those things can have a real effect on continuing on with habits and things that we want to do. And what I found in coaching many, many people with executive function challenge over the years is that we need more structure rather than less. I think I'm lucky that I was naturally curious about creating order and gravitated to implementing structure myself. And because of that, I think that's how I became somebody who works in organization and productivity over the years. It was for me, I had the right, I had motivation, but to figure these things out and implement them. But here's the challenge. If you are someone who doesn't naturally have that intrinsic motivation to go towards structure, and you really like to kind of wing it, it's harder because this is really not something that it feels natural for you to move towards. Whether it's using a calendar, whether it's creating that order in your files, on your digital life, in your clothing, in your backpack, in your office briefcase, backpack, whatever it is, all of these places um, benefit from having some structure. And I'll just flag your attention a little bit to the earlier episodes in our Fishbowl series, Productivity for Neurodivergent Professionals. We talked about designing space in number one. We talked about managing time better in number two. We talked about building better relationships in the third one. And in the fourth one, we talked about speaking up for what you need. And all of those things play into better navigating and managing our world. And I wanted to offer this part of this series to really get specific. So I'm really looking for a few people to join us in conversation to actually work through something you know you want to do, but you're not getting to it. So it's an opportunity for live coaching on the spot. I commit to you to be the way normally am as a coach: courageous, compassionate, bold, and in your service. So please think of something that you are thinking that you'd like to do and maybe getting stuck on. And I'm going to move forward now into talk about the ABCs of behavior change and what I've noticed can really trip people up. And if at any time this resonates with you, don't think twice, don't hesitate, just pop that raise your hand button. And I'm welcoming an interruption in these times. As soon as it makes sense after I've finished a phrase, I will invite you to the stage and we can talk in person. So the ABCs of behavior change, actually, I remember once taking it right to Z and coming up with a letter, but the most powerful are in the first six. And the first is A. A stands for acknowledge the advantage. Acknowledge the advantage that the habit or new behavior or ritual is going to give you. So what is this new way of being going to do for you? So let's just say, for example, it's getting more sleep. What if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going through my day like a zombie. I know I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm caffeinating, I'm sugaring up, and I know my relationships could be better. Um, but I'm just not doing it. Well, when I said relationships could be better, it's really bumping up all of the things that you know will be positively affected by implementing this change. So, if you implement a better bedtime and get enough sleep cycles, which is generally five times about 75 minutes, it's about 7.5 hours of sleep that you want a night. And if you're not getting that either in the night or throughout the day, because it can be definitely divided, then you're shortchanging yourself, and you might see things like irritability in relationships. You might see yourself stop going to do the exercise that you really intend to do. You might then make poorer food choices. You might, so all of these different, I call them 8 performance essentials in the work that I do. You might make poorer decisions and cumulatively start spiraling in a negative direction, rather than, if you're able to build these positive things into your life, you start to spiral up. And your sleep now means you're rested, which means you can self-regulate. And emotional regulation with neurodivergent people is a hot topic. We can be emotionally responsive and reactive, and we can sometimes not articulate how we're feeling in the kindest, calmest way possible. And the more we're rested, the better we can self regulate. So, relationships, we can make better food choices. We can make it to the gym in the morning, and science will show you'll have a better workout if you're rested. So, all of these things, if you can acknowledge the advantage of getting that good night's sleep, or whatever habit or ritual it is that you'd like to build in, that's a really, really powerful first step. And it's not the same thing as I heard on the news that X. It's really connecting it to what it's going to do for you and what that means to you. So, what will sleep do, for example? And give me the so what. Give me the so if I get better sleep, then here's the impact. And that's definitely what we want to hone in on and hold close anytime you're thinking, oh, but not tonight. I'm just going to push it tonight. I'm going to stay up till 2 in the morning, and I'll figure it out tomorrow. I want you to remember and come back to this. And if you want it to write down those advantages, then really, really powerful to be able to hold on to it. Just to let you know too, later this afternoon, we'll be adding to the clarekumar.com/. Fishbowl page a downloadable where you can just grab a download on the pocket guide to the ABCs of behavior change so that you'll have a one-page summary of what we're talking about today. And this can be a useful tool for you to come back to and actually crystallize those things. I don't see any hands up here, but I'm going to invite you. I see Tucci and Francisco. I love seeing everyone who's here. I've seen Daniela, Margaret, Ian, Ed, so many of you here, and you're here because this topic resonated with you. So I want to give you a chance again to raise your hand and come join me and tell me about a habit that you're trying to build. And if reframing it as a ritual is an idea that you like, or how about this concept of acknowledging the advantage? Any thoughts on that from anyone? Okay. Yeah, we see Francisco. Rafael, can you let Francisco into the room, please?
Yeah, already did.
Oh,
Okay.
hey.
Hey,
Hi, Claire.
Francisco. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry. I just can only speak for a little second here. But I just wanted to share. I had recently taken a vacation, which I hadn't realized how important it was. But once I had come back home, I was experiencing jet lag that actually turned out to my benefit, and that it helped to sort of start a morning routine wherein I would, get to bed at the right time, wake up at the right time, and just start putting some very, very beneficial habits in place that would really kind of um, will really lead to success for the rest of the day. So, I mean, getting that, nutritious and very important breakfast that you had mentioned, the better food decisions,
Mhm.
as well as just kind of helping me to concentrate at work, really. But a lot of beneficial things. But I yeah, can't. What's the word I'm looking here? Where cannot emphasize how important that sleep factor of everything is.
Yeah. Do you feel markedly differently now that you've prioritized it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's made a phenomenal and very, very notable difference day in and day out. I tell myself that there's, no need to be as harsh on myself, being as to how, I wake up at time, I make it to my desk on time, if anything, early. Truth be told, I have been slipping up as of Tuesday and today even, but, once in a while we're allowed to make mistakes, but besides that, it's been of great, great help. It takes a load off my mind.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you. That is really
Thank
proof
you.
of acknowledging those benefits, acknowledging the advantage of the new ritual. And I love that you use a potential negative experience of jet lag as a real circuit interrupt and opportunity to say, well, wait a minute, what do I want to do differently? Um, did you have an idea that sleep was a challenge beforehand? How did you connect to really make this conscious, intentional difference?
Absolutely. Well, the vacation that I had taken had really provided a lot of insight. It kind of helped to sort of refocus my goals and my efforts. I'm still a student at the moment, but I'm working at a paid internship, luckily.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So once I had returned from the vacation, it just kind of opened my eyes a bit and kind of told me, well, getting to the age where it's getting, a little serious. So got to get a bit serious. And so, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot where I was going with this.
Oh, it's okay. We were talking about how you connected to the intention of prioritizing sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really, when it came to the attention, I just took a look at myself and just tried to kind of weigh in wherein my morning routines sort of went wrong and how, a lack of sleep really just kind of sets you off poorly. So I had the intention to get myself back on track to sort
Yeah.
of reignite those interests that I had. And pretty soon, once I got my sleeping routines in place along with morning routines and work, I found myself with an excess of time on my hands and I didn't even really know what to do with it. So,
Wow. Wow. Look
yeah,
at the benefits that came out of that. Well, thank you so much for joining, Francisco, and
yeah,
sharing your
absolutely.
experience.
Yeah, my
There,
pleasure.
sleep is the reason I used it as an example, it's a real problem there. It's a hot topic.
It's
And
crucial.
so, yeah, I'm sure you've inspired some listeners today in sharing your story. So thank you so much.
Of course, of course.
Okay, thanks so much for Francisco joining. I'm going to continue on now from A to B. And here's what I noticed, especially when I was coaching parents, and in particular, my experience coaching women, there was often a reluctance to hold on to commitments to self because I would hear things like, oh, but I have to do this and this for my kids. I have to do this and this and this. I'm staying up later because I have to do all these things for other people. And self was demoted to the bottom of the list. So B is for believe, believe you're worth it. Believe you're worth saying yes to, and that might mean saying no to others so that you can take care of yourself the way Francisco is taking care of his sleep and showing up even better in terms of attention and in many different ways. Myself, I figured this out. It was 2016, and I took a trip south for a month. And my then husband was laid off from work. So he was able to be solo parent at home. And I went and did my coach program, but I did it remotely and got some vitamin D at the same time in Panama, which was really an extraordinary opportunity. And I took that opportunity to experiment and learn about all kinds of different things. And one of the things I did was try to fall into what felt like a natural sleeping rhythm. And 11 to bed, 6:30 in the morning, wake up. I was a new person, and I have to absolutely say it was absolute luxury to be able to do that. But anyone can start to, once you acknowledge the advantage and then believe you're worth it, start to put in place the boundaries that you need and the structure that you need to cling to be able to then move forward with those habits. So self-worth is definitely be part of it. Oh, and Brene Brown, actually, on the topic of setting boundaries, I love her. If you don't know her work, please check it out. She's has millions of viewed her TED Talk about shame and vulnerability. And there's a particular video I often share with clients around boundary setting. And we can feel uncomfortable setting boundaries, but her research will show that the people that are able to hold on to compassion are those with the most boundaries, which is really fascinating. So it actually serves our relationships better to have those boundaries. So, food for thought if you're thinking it's difficult to do that. That brings me to C. And C stands for cultivate your environment and support from those around you. And so, what do I mean by this? So, let's just say food is something you're trying to make different choices about. And let's say you've decided to cut down sugar and maybe dairy. Yet, your partner is an ice cream fiend and wants to eat ice cream every night on the couch in front of you. Really, really hard when you're surrounded by challenging things and people who are behaving that in a way that's counter to what your goals are. So maybe there are conversations about what you're going to do when you're together, and maybe it's not going to be as tempting. So it's asking people for their support, their moral support in the changes that you want to make. It's also setting up your environment and your tools and so on to make it easy to dive into that which you want to do. One example I have is from Peter Shankman. If any of you might recognize him, he set up Harrow, Help a Reporter Out, which is recently being sold and then disbanded. So now it's Hero, Help Every Reporter Out. He's brilliant. He's written books on ADHD for adults and children, and been on my podcast. So you can check out the Happy Space podcast with Peter Shankman. I don't know, Raphael can probably find the episode number for us. But the point of me sharing about Peter is he talks about ADHD quite confidently and proudly. And one of the tricks that he has to honor his need to move, because exercise is an amazing focus power tool for an ADHD brain. And he would go to bed in his exercise clothes so that when he woke up early in the morning, and he's a super early riser, he would be looking down and go, oh, look at that. I'm in my gym clothes. I guess I know what I'm doing. And that would help pave his way to exercise first thing in the morning, which then fueled his brain to be very productive in that next part of his day. And so there are things we can do to, I call it paying yourself forward in terms of design, tools, support, and so on. And it's just a really powerful thing to think about. What are you setting up to help pay your way forward? So I want to pause again and see if this might have triggered any thoughts for anyone. We have acknowledged the advantage, believe you're worth it, and now cultivate environment and support. So, what habit are you trying to adopt, or what, maybe like Francisco, have you been successful in that you'd like to share with this group as a bit of wisdom? I'll pause for a second to see who wants to join. Awesome. Janelle, I'm happy to have you come to the stage. Janelle, I guess it takes, there we go. Yeah, Janelle, welcome. What would you like to share today?
Hi, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Is it okay if I share one successful one and one that I'm currently working on?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the one that I've found recent success in is, and this is going back to what you mentioned about food. So I don't know if anyone else in the chat or in the audience is on any type of medication, particularly ADHD medication that may suppress your diet, and
Mm,
you know sometimes you forget to eat, and so that had been a challenge for me, and I um, one thing that was a non-negotiable for me in taking care of myself was making sure that I'm getting my nutrients, and whether that's through supplements and all of that. So um, what I found worked for me was finding a way for the both sides of me. So the side of me that is um, you know, struggles to find routine, but then the other side of me that loves analytics and tracking things.
mhm.
So that led me to, and I do not work for this app. Actually, I won't name it just in case, but there is actually there's multiple, but there's one food tracking app that I started to use, and you can scan a barcode of the food that you're eating. You can add anything simple as tap water, veggies, anything like that, and it tracks all of the micronutrients in in that item. And then
Mhm.
at the end of every day, it summarizes and gives you pretty much a status report on everything from, you know, depending on what your goals are, if it's calorie focused or if it's for me sugar, limiting sugar is a big thing. So just seeing, oh, did I go over my sugar limit today? Did I get enough magnesium? Did I get enough this? So usually with those type of apps, after 42 hours, it could be an app that I think is going to change my life. I'm obsessed with it, and then 42 hours later, I don't think about it or care about it at all. But this food tracking system has actually, I've been keeping it up for about 2 weeks, so I'm hoping that stays.
Oh, amazing. So I love you sharing this, and I want to celebrate the success because you're raising a point about the fact that productivity is personal. And if you happen to be later on watching this YouTube video, you will see that I am wearing a shirt that says productivity is personal. And I have a whole line of t shirts all around inclusivity messages. I call them inclusivities. And I think it's really important to find things that work for you, things that your brain lights up at using. And there's something about this food tracking app for you that's working. This connection to appreciating analytics and being able to have some concrete evidence potentially of the, you know, what you're measuring and the impact that it's having.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope to see that hope to see that shirt. I'll be really quick about the one that I'm struggling with right now, and this goes to your point about self-care again.
Hmm.
Um, I'm finding it hard to make time for hobbies. Um, and I think the reason for that is where as I'm creating my to-do lists or my priority grids, it always seems like the hobbies, they they don't qualify for me as urgent, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the time they don't qualify for me as particularly important compared to the other
Yeah.
things that I have to get done or do during the day. And while I
Yeah.
know it's something that I want to do, it's just it always feels like it's on the bottom of the list. But the danger there is that I find when I'm doing the things that I need to be doing, that I'm thinking about these hobbies are haunting me. So for example, one of them's harmonica. I've been obsessed with the harmonica since I was a child. I've never learned. I listen to, Stevie Wonder, Steven Tyler, all the Steves. I love listening to harmonica, and so I finally bought one, made a lesson plan, uh, downloaded or set up a list of all these YouTube lessons to do, and just haven't done it. And now I find in when I'm working or other times of the day, I'll just randomly think about how I'm not progressing in the harmonica.
Oh, I feel you. Oh, I love this. I love it so much. Thank you for sharing this. Um, I've given numerous productivity workshops in corporations, and I often talk about 6 areas of life that we need to think about in order to be really satisfied. And play is one of them. And it's often one of the most underserved because I think in our culture, we don't really see the valuation of play, and we don't see a correlation to the effects it has on our life and overall performance. Now, I happen to know a few speakers. Gary Ware is one of them, and another friend of mine who's a highly creative, and she connects it to productivity as well, Denise Jacobs. Both of these people are making business careers out of the value of play. So I think you're onto something, Janelle, in terms of, that acknowledge the advantage piece. I think there's maybe an opportunity to explore just how valuable it is to you overall in your life to be able to add this piece of joy in the learning differently, the just I mean, I think fundamentally I believe we deserve these moments of joy, and they don't have to be huge expensive things. A pocket harmonica, like, could there be anything more portable and easy to bring with you anywhere to find the self-expression and play. So number one, I think, is to connect to the advantages it can bring you, and maybe with your analytical mind, some of the science around play and its overall benefits might actually help you then prioritize it into your calendar. The other thing I'm thinking for you as well is thinking practically about how you can set some time for play in your calendar that won't be under threat by other things that will invite you to demote it and demote it and demote it. And so, one of the things that I've done for my movement, which is a non-negotiable sleep, and the tricky part about this, I'm going to say it, is the more you realize that helps you thrive, the more of your day is carved out to take care of you. So I am a fierce defendant of sleep. Because I have this autoimmune issue as well and want to have neuronal growth in my brain, I'm always moving every day. And because I want vitamin D, I'm carving out time every day to go swimming at an outdoor pool. And I feel my calendar under threat, but I feel so much commitment to that advantage that it has for my body and that I'm worth it. That really, really helps to be able to put those things in the calendar. So I want you to think about really specifically, what would it look like? What would getting into the harmonica look like? You've already put lesson plans together, but how can you make it so a piece of time that will fit in your calendar, and where would that be? Do you have thoughts on that now?
I have actually I don't know if I have thoughts on that right now. I've had loose plans to, oh, I'll do it first thing when I get up in the morning, but
Mhm.
that's usually when I start feeling the pressures of the day and
Mhm.
come down on me. So then I thought, oh, maybe in the evening when I'm relaxing, but then sometimes just the thought of learning and going through these plans when I'm trying to relax doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been
Yeah.
struggling with finding a time, but maybe now that you bring that up, I'm thinking maybe if it's, if I when I get the urge to look up a Stevie Wonder clip or listen to like a Steven Tyler harmonica solo, dedicating even 5 minutes after that, just as inspiration, maybe might help.
It could. It definitely could. I'm really curious about what you said about the morning, though, that, you get up and you start thinking of the pressure and the pull to do other things. What if, I just want to plant a seed, what if the first 10 minutes of your day was harmonica time? And that you allowed just 10 minutes for yourself to to explore and connect with that vibration. There's a vibration to a harmonica that I can imagine, actually it's very powerful in the body.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely try that. And it could also serve as an alarm, a second alarm for me. So, yeah, thank you for that suggestion. I'll try that.
Okay, I would love to hear from you. Keep in touch with me. You can always find me here on Fishbowl or Claire at clarekumar.com. Let me know. Send me a little clip of you playing the harmonica. You would make my day, okay? I want to hear from you how this goes. And for all those who are listening, this might have resonated with you, this thing that you want to do, but you're just not getting to it. So thank you so much, Janelle, for joining us. Thank you to Francisco earlier, and we're going to continue on now. uh, I wanted to just remind you, we've talked about acknowledge the advantage of what this new habit or ritual will bring to you. B is believe you're worth it. C is cultivate your environment and support. That might be putting the harmonica beside your bed so you see it first thing in the morning. Like, there's little things you can do to help remember what's important to you. So I urge you to think about that. Raphael, I'm going to ask you to just let everybody know who maybe have joined recently where they are and what we're doing right now.
Hi, well, um, this is Clare Kumar, founder of Happy Space, experienced executive coach specializing in productivity and inclusivity, and this is her series, Productivity for Neurodivergent Professionals. Today, we're talking about building happy habits and the ongoing challenge of doing what we know we should do but never seem to be able to, like playing the harmonica. Make sure to follow her in Fishbowl so you don't miss any talks in the series. And we want to keep talking to you. We want to answer your questions. So keep that raise your hand button closed because we'll read it. We'll read it. We talk. We'll make a conversation here. So go ahead, Claire.
Okay, thank you so much. And I just want to let everybody know, if you've just joined, we are also recording this to video, and I have some slides and presentation material that I'm working from as well. We make that available, no charge. Just come pick it up at clarekumar.com/fishbowl. And you'll see not only today's material, but you'll also see the 4 episodes prior and the material that we've put together for that too. We are really happy to share the information and look forward to hearing more success stories and adventures in building these happy habits. I'm going to continue on now because we've got to get through D, E, and bonus F. So let's go with D. D is for defend boundaries with grace. Defend boundaries with grace. So, when we put something into our calendars, and I recommend you put these activities into your calendar as a commitment to yourself, block the time. And that is the first way to indicate to others that this is important. It's important use of your time, and it's spoken for something else. It's a very good first step to just tell yourself that, and that's why I think it should be in our calendar, our commitments to ourselves. My swims are in my calendar. My sleep I don't put in my calendar because I have the rough times for that, but I do put naps in my calendar. And if I'm shortchanged on sleep because of any number of issues, then I make sure that there's a nap And in almost every day, I need to make sure there's a time for rest and recovery in the day. And if you are, you're dealing with a health challenge or you just deal with cognitive overload, oh my gosh, the systems. I've just taken a new role on supporting the Canadian Disabilities or Hidden Disabilities Sunflower Program in Canada. Hidden Disabilities Sunflower. It's hdsunflower.com. I'm looking after organizations that are joining the program in Canada for all people with hidden challenges. It's a global program. It's available all around the world, and you can wear a sunflower lanyard, pin, or uh, bracelet. There's lots of different ways, and all it's doing is saying, hey, you know what? I have a challenge. I might need some kind of support. And it's inviting people to have conversations. And so, conversations about what you need and speaking up for what you need are all part of defending boundaries with grace. And I think, I was talking at the beginning about sleep. And if we don't have sleep, this grace part is really harder to hold on to. If we're tired, if we're hungry, if we're stressed for any reason, grace is under threat. And we become short, we become potentially louder, we become less kind in our language. All of these things can happen. And so we have, as neurodivergent professionals, for sure, we have a responsibility. If we want to be really proud about how we show up, we really owe it to ourselves to take care of what we need and carve that out. And finding the language to defend our boundaries with grace is really, really wonderful. If you want to dig deeper into this, definitely the fourth episode in the series, Speaking Up for What You Need, is really well worth listening to. And the slides and the video will be there on clarekumar.com/fishbowl going forward. So finding the words to say, you know what, I would love to, I'm sorry, I'm going to be unavailable. And practicing it and being okay with practicing it and confirming those boundaries is really powerful. Here's the one that I really came to later, and this was after my own experience and also working with clients. And here's where the gold is, I think. E is for engage after the task. Engage with your emotions right after the task. So if we go back to Janelle's example and we're thinking harmonica, the invitation is to take a minute and just tune into how you feel after that time playing the harmonica. I'm hoping you're feeling relaxed. I'm hoping you feel like you're thinking it was a good use of your time. You're noticing the effect in your body of the act itself, but also how you're feeling about honoring something that you know is important to you. And connecting to that feeling, I believe, is that's the connection to intrinsic motivation to actually continue to do those things that look after us and serve us. So tuning into that feeling. And now you can experiment with it. You might want to try something new that you've never done, and you might tune into it and just say, oh my gosh, this is not for me. That's okay. This is learning, right? So tune in, name the emotions, notice what's going on. And the next time you're thinking about, gosh, I want to play harmonica this week and I want to do it 3 times in the morning, but whatever it is, I want you to connect back to that emotion. I want you to think about that emotion. And I believe that's where we can build the feeling that I had. I remember when I worked at Nortel way back in the day in Toronto in Canada. And we had a gym. And because we were in a factory environment, the factory had 7 to 3 hours and we worked 8 to 4. And the gym class was at 4:30. And boy, oh boy, I used to love to go to that class. It was such a wonderful physical release after the day spent sitting and working. Great music, friends in the class. I loved it so much. my body started to want that class. And so if anybody came to talk to me around 4:15, I would look at them like, are you crazy? I've got to go. I'm going to my class at 4:30. I was like so fiercely protective of that hour of exercise and music and fun that I just, you know what, I loved how I felt so much that that was the thing I was going to do. So I encourage you, defend your boundaries with grace, engage after the task. And there's a bonus F, and I have to credit my friend Nadine Araxi. She's a longtime magazine editor and a writer. And she's like, Claire, there's an F, the F. And it's actually Francisco who touched on this right earlier when we were talking about sleep. And the past couple of days, he said, haven't been quite as good as normal, but we all fall off, don't we? Yeah. So F is for forgive. It's to forgive yourself if you don't hold that streak. This 75 hard thing that I hear around, you got to exercise. And if you miss something, then you have to start the streak again at 75. Okay, if that could work for you, go for it. If it does. But I believe that we should have some self-compassion and make room for all that can happen in our life and be able to reprioritize and anchor in the other steps of the ABCs of behavior change, right? So if something happens and you fall off, I want you not to beat yourself up. I want you to get curious, and I want you to go back through the letters of the alphabet and start with A. Am I acknowledging the advantage? Yes, yes, yes. I know it's important. Excellent move. Am I believing that I'm worth it? Oh, yes, I know that I'm worth it. What happened? Is there something I could do to cultivate the environment and support that I need? Oh, yeah, I caved because my partner was eating Doritos and I just ate the whole bag with them. You know, go back to the A, B, C, D, defend your boundaries with grace. Maybe you weren't defending your boundaries effectively enough, or maybe you need to re-engage. But there is an actual process through A, B, C, D, and E, and you have to go back to the beginning of whichever part felt broken. So yes, forgive yourself, but even with Francisco, your opportunity right now is to go back and say, where did it, what happened there? Was it, did I reprioritize? If you had reprioritized and you're happy with the reasons, nothing to do. Pat yourself on the back. You know nothing's damaging here. Your commitment to that new ritual and way of being, you're good. But examine it a little bit, get curious, and see what is coming up for you. So again, I want to remind you that at clarekumar.com/fishbowl, you'll be able to find a pocket guide to the ABCs of behavior change, which just is a one-page summary of these steps that you can take. And it's available there for free download. And at the very top of that page, you will see a button. And boy, would I love it if you joined me on my newsletter. I send it out just once a month, and it will include information about events like this. And I look at the intersection of productivity and inclusivity. You'll get the latest Happy Space podcast episodes as well. You'll get probably links to inclusivities, which actually, Raphael, if you can share the link to the t-shirts, just in case anybody's curious about that productivity is personal t-shirt that I mentioned before. I think it's clarekumar.com/inclusivity, but inclusivity doesn't finish with a Y, it finishes with two E's. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know about those things. I want to take a break for questions here, and then I'll finish up with an invitation to check out a couple of other things that I'm working on that I think can help you hold on to great habits. So, Raphael, are there any questions coming up for you?
No, not yet. And just a quick reminder about the t-shirts. It is, in fact, the link to get the inclusivity is clarekumar.com/inclusivity. It's inclusivity with TEE at the end.
Okay, perfect. Good. Then my memory is working. Excellent. Yeah, and they're just fun. They're fun t-shirts to show off your values, essentially. So we have things like productivity is personal. The one I want to send to the CEO of Dell, and maybe I'll do it, is autonomy is for adults. which is a bit bold to tell a CEO, but I firmly believe as grown-ups, when we figure out how we work best, it should be honored and respected, aside from opportunities where we're really coming together for tasks and connection that really make sense to do together. There's another one: diagnosis is privilege, never mind the labels. I firmly believe we need to think about accessibility over accommodation, and how are we making the world more inviting for all of us to perform at our best. So you can find all of those things at clarekumar.com/inclusivity. Swap the Y out in inclusivity for 2 E's, and you'll be able to pick up those shirts if you like. I want to share another thing that I'm really excited and would love to have you check out. I talk a lot about, like I said, the intersection of productivity and inclusivity. And one of the things I think we don't talk about a lot about at work is how we work together. We talk about what we're working on and when it's due, but we don't have a big conversation about, gee, hey, Raphael, how do you work best? Are you a morning person? Do you love to have feedback directly? What's your ergonomic setup like? Lots of different things. Are you introverted? What's your temperament like for organization and problem solving? There's a lot of different things that if we took a few minutes to understand ourselves and then each other, it could really help us out. So I've created a survey and I call it the Happy Space Work Style Profile. This as well is free for anyone to use. And it takes about 15 minutes to complete. And you find it at clarekumar.com/happy space. And right under Happy Space, you'll see Work Style Profile. You'll also see a button right on my homepage. And it's my gift to people for that self-inquiry. And then the opportunity then is to turn that into one page, and I will email you a template to do so. You turn that into one page, and that one page can be shared with your colleagues and other people with whom you work, however it is at work or in your community. And that can help communicate what you need to perform at your best. So please, I invite you to check it out. The sort of the long version of this, an opportunity, is that I will be learning a little bit more about what today's workforce wants, and I'll be able to go to the CEO of Dell and be able to say, you know what, I know that only 9% of people want an 8 a.m. meeting, for example. This is what's showing up in the responses I've got so far. So I will love to have your participation on that. Again, it's totally free for you to take advantage of. And if you're looking at the YouTube, I am showing a QR code there. There's a QR code for that, and there's also a QR code for the teamwork program that builds on that. If you've got a team that's under tension around how you're going to work together, I am really thrilled to work with organizations and invite compassion-infused compromise into the process so that everyone can make their richest contribution and get wonderful things done. So I'm really thrilled to have had you joining me today in this conversation about building happy habits. Again, you can find the information at clarekumar.com/fishbowl. It's been a real pleasure having you here. I want to thank Francisco and Janelle for sharing their personal stories, success stories, and experiences. And I hope that you can take advantage of this, thinking about the ABCs of behavior change in particular. First of all, thinking about how to honor the habit as a ritual and bring some reverence and respect to it. And then the ABCs of behavior change. And I'm just going to close by going over those one more time. But Raphael, I'll just check. Has anything come in terms of a comment or a question I need to address? Or otherwise, I'll just close with a minute on that.
No, we don't have any questions yet.
Perfect. Okay, so A, acknowledge the advantage. Acknowledge what this change is going to do for you. Give me the so what. Get really real about why it's important. B, believe you are worth it. You are worth making the investment to have this benefit. You matter and you're worth it. C, cultivate the environment and support you need to be successful. Cultivate the environment and support you need to be successful. D, defend your boundaries with grace. Once you've defined the habit and when it's going to happen, you need to protect that. So defend your boundaries with grace. And E, engage in the emotions right after the task. Build that intrinsic motivation to hold on to those happy habits. Thanks everyone again for joining me today, and let's keep in touch.